I know you have socialized medicine, but if you were trying to get some extra, a private insurance, it's not cheap, is it? If you had to pay for it yourself, it would be very expensive. Well, today we're going to talk about culinary medicine. But of course, let's have another word of prayer before we get started. Heavenly Father, thank you so much again for our opportunity to be here this afternoon. And Lord, you've just blessed us so much. Thank you for this new week. We ask you, Lord, to help us see the things that you'd want us to make some changes in our life that could help us have a better connection with you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Well, let me ask you a question. Are you hurried? Are you worried sometimes? What about buried? I can feel buried sometimes, trust me. You know, if it's anxiety, depression, guilt, negative thoughts, right? These things all heighten our stress. So, another thing too is our overworked, busy schedules. Listen, I know because Ron and I are running from place to place to place to place to place. And when we get home, we have a million things to do and then we leave again. So our life, we feel like, woo, we're always overwhelmed, running. It just adds more stress to our life. I mean, who here has a stressful job? I'm sure there are times when your job can be stressful, right? It's not always that way, and I'm sure that, you're in a job, you probably like what you do, because you would look for a different job, right? But the fact is even the good jobs have stress too. So a lot of times we are hooked on hurried. Hurry, got to move, right? But our lives are actually very barren when it comes to true contentment if we just rush through life. Did you ever hear that thing, take time to smell the roses? How many of us really take time to smell the roses? Or do we just keep moving, right? Let's take time out and actually reflect and how to identify and experience some of life's most important priorities. Even doing too many good things can crowd out life's best and most important priorities. If you see here on the slide, got to check my messages. Oh, I've got a meeting. Oh, I've got to order the brochures. This is kind of looks like my desktop at my computer because all the things that I have to do. Do this job. You got reports due. All the things. Make phone calls. We get so we're rushing through life, right? But maybe it's time to take a breath and look at some of the most important principles on balancing our multiple roles and prioritizing things when we can. All right. Do you go from being overstimulated, running, to finally just like giving up and just like, I can't do it anymore? That happens sometimes when we are overstressed. The word is apathy. How do you describe the word apathy? What do you think apathy is? You don't care. That's right. It's a loss of interest, right? It's loss of energy, loss of motivation. It's like the same symptoms we experience when we get the flu. Like when you don't feel good and you just want to do nothing because you just need to rest, that's kind of how your body shuts down when you're apathetic about things. So we go, and then we're just like, I can't do it anymore. Richard Winter, he, in the book, Still Bored in a Culture of Entertainment. So you think we got things moving on with our life so much. We think we're entertained, yet we're still bored with it. It says, bombarded with so much that demands our attention, we tend to shut everything down and shut down our attention to everything. We now actually carry the whole world in our pocket, don't we? What is that? Exactly. It's the cell phone. Exactly. We have instant access to news, the weather, shopping, friends, work, emails, texting, alerts, the map to get somewhere. When I first started driving, okay, cell phones were out, but I didn't have one, okay? It was like, fancy to have a cell phone, right? My dad used to draw me a map where I had to go. I'm like, oh, Dad, I have to go to the mall in the next county, right? He's like, okay, Carin, this is what you do. Okay, my father was so good at map writing because he owned a business and he had multiple crews that would have to go to different jobs. And so back then, he had to say, okay, crew A, you're going to this job. And he would give him a map. Okay, crew B, you're going to this job, right? So he was really good. Do you know, my father was so good. This is just kind of off topic, but my dad was so good about doing maps that he got me from my house in New Jersey, which is on the East Coast, to my cousin's house in Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C., which was about 3.5 hours away, to her doorstep, and he'd never been there before. That's pretty good, right? I couldn't believe, like, he got me right, I mean, without a mistake, like, got me on, and he drew me the map. Got me on this highway, got me there, and got me there, basically right there. So anyway, well, that was just a sideline. I digress, but I come back, right? So everything's at the touch of a finger, though, now. Are you managing your media, or does your media manage you? We have to think about that. When we're focused on things like that, it steals away precious time, and then we have something called TMI. Too much information here, because we're just always just trying to absorb things. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that having a cell phone is a bad thing. I mean, we can use it for good. I mean, listen, if I have to get somewhere, it's very nice to put that Google Maps on, right, or whatever, or Waze, or whatever you're using, right? One of the greatest threats to our healthful living, though, and having abundant life, is substituting empty calories in place of whole foods. You know, when we're rushing, like we're talking about rushing, and doing all these things, we tend to grab quick things and food, and we don't take time to make things, you know, and so what happens is that we tend to grab the easiest things, which usually are not the healthiest things. Fast food, or, you know, packaged, processed foods, things like that. These things are an enemy of our nervous system and our immune system. So beware of excess refined sugar intake. It says here the brain connection. Remember we talked about, I think Dr. Brake spoke about the brain connection with the body, right? Eating high fructose or added sugars. This kind of diet over the long term alters your brain's ability to learn and remember information. Wow. Listen, sometimes I wonder, is it like when my memory is a little bit not as good as it used to be? I used to be really smart and always, you know, right like this. Now I said, either I'm getting old, which I don't think that's the case. I'm not getting old, right? Or I have like a post-COVID thing. I blame it on COVID, right? I post-COVID memory loss. Listen, I mean, I'm sure, though, that it's my age. But there are factors that affect your memory, such as high sugar content foods. Our studies show that high fructose diets harm the brain as well as the body. Okay, that was a study done at UCLA in neurosurgery. Clearly, there's a battle waged for our mental health, our physical health, and our spiritual health as well, for every man, every woman, and every child. But it's a battle that you can win. Amen, right? We can win it. But it does require understanding, having a plan, having support, and also the power of God, right? So a healthy stomach is essential for optimal mental and physical health. So this is why we're doing a culinary medicine class, because we are just going to make some foods that can help improve things with our stress and our mental health. Okay? Did you ever hear that the stomach is called your second brain? Yeah, the second brain. Digestive health is a vital part of brain health. So it's your eating habits, it's your environment, our mental state, how we, you know, wake up in our day, right? And then, of course, it all affects our digestive health. And our digestive health impacts the production of the brain chemicals and how they influence your mood and your stress levels. Remember that if you were here on the first night or the second night, it was DOSE, D-O-S-E. Do you remember that? No. Robert, you were there. You don't remember? Oh, you didn't write it? So dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, right? These are all affected, you know, in our digestive health. And it does affect our moods and our brain function. So take time for your physical health. And we're going to talk today mostly about nutrition. So caffeine Sugar and alcohol rob the nervous system of real strength and lead to fatigue, cravings, and addiction. Yesterday, if you were here, or last evening, right? Last evening, Ron talked about the 8 doctors. And one of the 8 doctors was what? T. Do you remember? Temperance. Yes, of course, trust in God was the most important. But we were talking about temperance on this one, right? Because he talked about staying away from caffeine, staying away from alcohol, it's too much sugar. These things, like I said, lead to fatigue, cravings, and even addiction. To build stress protection, take time to fill your body with power foods to protect and fight back against these things. Because ultimately, listen, it's almost like you can't avoid like sugar and things. There's going to be a time when you're going to be somewhere where you're going to eat sugar. It happens, right? You may be at a family party, or you may have to eat something on the road and you don't know what's in it. So, but the thing is that we can mostly eat foods that are going to help build our immune system, build our digestive health to help cope with some of these things, so that when we do have that sugar and we do have those things, it's not going to affect us as much as it would affect us if we were doing a regular diet of these things. Higher blood levels of power plant chemicals, and they are called phytochemicals, are found in colorful vegetables and fruits that are linked to people having less irritability, less stress, and sleeplessness. Does anybody have a hard time falling asleep at night? Sometimes we do. Well, if we include in our diet foods in their natural state, like raw foods, things that are as grown, and even just simply prepared, this is going to help us with our stress, our irritability, and of course, our sleeplessness. Now, there's some menu do's and don'ts, okay? Foods that are high in saturated fat promote inflammation in the body. Now, I don't know if you know this, but anytime we have any illness in our body, whether it be a cold, all the way to something like stage 4 cancer, is actually inflammation in the body. If we can get rid of the inflammation, we can get rid of the illness or the disease. So inflammation of the stomach lining, when you're eating foods that have high fat content, it is as damaging to your stomach lining as having alcohol, hot spicy foods, high sodium, or caffeine, which irritate and inflame the stomach lining. Some examples, well, I like to call this actually staying away from high saturated foods, saturated fats would be called, if you're eating them, the chips, the chops, and the lollipop diet. That's not so good, right? Chips, chops, and lollipops. We need to stay away from things like hard cheeses, red meats, luncheon meats. Those are filled with lots of fat and lots of preservatives, butter, fried foods, and like the chips, very rich pastries. You know what? If these are things that are in your diet, we need to kind of transition to make them the exception, not the rule. So we need to kind of fill our diet with those healthy foods, so then when we do have something like that, it is not going to, cause the damage that it would on a regular diet. So it's helpful to consider incorporating our whole food plant-based diet. The gut-brain connection is no joke. Now, this connection goes both ways. A troubled intestine can send signals to your brain, just as a troubled brain can send signals to your gut. Healthy plant-rich foods and spacing your meals between regular times. Try to be in a good routine to where you're eating breakfast at the same time and you're eating your lunch, and if you are eating a dinner, eating it at the same time, early enough that you can digest, or eating foods healthy and light enough that you won't be going to bed and still digesting. These are things. Your stomach, I like to say your stomach is probably the most overworked organ in your body. Now, your heart, yes, it pumps and it stops. It doesn't stop, right? Thank goodness it doesn't stop, right? However, I always say the heart is a muscle. So I consider the stomach like another kind of organ in a way. And I'm going to let you know, the stomach, every time you put something in your mouth, your stomach goes, uh-oh, here we go again, and it starts working, right? But did you know in order for it to work, all the blood has to rush to the stomach to aid in the digestion? So this is what happens. You know, it takes 3 hours to at least digest most of your food, maybe 4 hours, okay? So imagine this. You get up, you eat breakfast at 8 a.m., okay? You're at work and somebody brought in donuts. So your body is like, okay, I'm like, it's 2 hours in and I'm getting there and I'm getting your food pushed through into your small intestines, which by the way is where all your nutrients are and your minerals and things like that are absorbed, right? But then you decide to take a donut. Now, I'm going to let you know donuts are not the best thing to eat. Reason why, we talked about saturated fats. They're full of fat, they're full of sugar. It's pretty much empty calories. It is probably, they say that if you were going to pick the worst thing to have for breakfast to start your day, it's a donut, okay? Just so you know. Now, listen, you might have a donut somewhere else in your life, and you know, but I wouldn't start my day with a donut. How's that? But there's donuts at the table, and you take a donut. Okay, guess what happens? Your stomach was finally finishing saying, okay, we're getting everything in those small intestines. Uh-oh, here we go again. And the body sends the blood. It takes the blood away from the other organs functioning to aid the stomach. So you see, this is why snacking is really not a good thing. You know, I was talking to somebody yesterday at the seminar, and they're like, oh, I eat, you know, or my mom used to eat, like, she used to just snack, or grandmother. My grandmother used to just snack. She'd eat a banana, then a little while later she'd have some oatmeal, and a little while later she'd just eat that. She goes, she used to eat like 6 meals a day, and she always stayed thin. But boy, her poor stomach, the poor thing never got a break, did it? Every few hours, it's like, here we go again, right? So, healthy food choices will help you enjoy your best possible health physically, mentally, and spiritually. You know, healthy food choices will help you curb cravings. Okay, it helps cut out calories because you're making healthier choices, and it helps you to reach and maintain like a good weight for you. Now, get the power plate. Now, the power plate habit is enjoying fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, even cooked vegetables like beans and whole grains, those types of things. We want to incorporate as much as we can our fresh foods. And the reason why is because our fresh foods have the most nutrition in them. I'm going to let you know that many, many, many years ago in the Garden of Eden, when God gave us our diet for our body, right? And I don't really have time to really go in the physiological part. Well, maybe I will have time. We'll see. But we started late, so I don't want to hold you up here too long. But God, those foods were perfect. Do you think all these years later these foods are perfect? Have we manipulated them? Have we genetically modified things? Have we used fertilizers and pesticides and all those things? And, you know, and have we overcooked our food? You know, Ron and I, we've been to India and Sri Lanka a few times to do mission work. And I'm going to let you know, they cook their food. And listen, Ron loves Indian food. I love the flavors of India, but I don't love spicy food. So I'm not so, you know, sometimes I'm like, if it's mild, I'm good. But so I love the flavors. But they cook their food for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And it's like you really are losing much of the nutrition. You know, and I don't know the conversion, so I'm going to have to do the conversion. 116 degrees Fahrenheit. Once we cook anything over 116 degrees Fahrenheit, the enzymes start breaking down and we start losing the nutrition in the food. So we want, anybody looking that up for me, Robert? So if you cook, what is it? If you go over 46.7 on the thing, so if you get to 48 on your temperature, you're already breaking down the nutrition in your food. So that's why we should start our day with fresh fruits. Have some, like a variety of fruits, right? So have a variety of fruits. Have, pick your favorites. But, you know, try to vary them each day or every couple days. Change your fruits. And then have your cereal or whatever you're having, your toast, your peanut butter, whatever you're having on that. Then, for your lunch, start your lunch with a wonderful, beautiful, fresh salad Or fresh vegetables. Maybe you don't feel like a salad today. Cut up some carrots and some celery and some whatever. Ron is now really excited because we are staying with the Antons and they had turnips in their house. And he never gets turnips at home because all these years we're married, he told me he liked turnips. So I made them one time and he didn't eat them. I'm like, all right, he doesn't really like turnips, so he never ate them. It's because I cooked them. He likes them raw. I didn't know until I went to their house this weekend. So now I know we can eat turnips in our salad. Vary your vegetables, right? So when you're eating fresh foods full of nutrition, it fills you up too. So you start eating, and you're getting the dietary fiber that you need. These are foods that are also going to detox the body. It's going to balance your blood sugar and restore your nervous system. So incorporate those fresh fruits and vegetables as much as you can. It's going to be your best nutrition. So fresh fruits, okay, we talked about that. We kind of go there. But eating fruits, first of all, I eat them on an empty stomach because fruit actually really digests very quickly, right? But it's packed with nutrients. It's powered with the phytochemicals. They increase our energy. It helps reduce our stress and control our sweet cravings because we're getting natural with fiber, right? And of course, they detox the system. So those are things. Choose color, a variety, like I was saying. When you're doing, when you go to the store, they usually call it the produce section, right? I call it the Department of Defense. You want to defend, right, against those the things. So the Department of Defense, you need to do most of your shopping in the Department of Defense, okay? Beans. Now, beans are high in fiber. They're high in protein. They're an antioxidant, and they're full of minerals. So they contain things called resistant starches. And resistant starch helps healthy bacteria in our body, the ones that fight off the bad bacteria, it helps them thrive and actually protect the colon. Do you know, and Ron mentioned this yesterday, that there's pretty much about a 97% chance that if you've been a whole food plant-based vegetarian during your life, that you will 97% will not get colon cancer. Why? Whole food plant-based eaters incorporate beans in their diet. They're eating and they have dietary fiber that's pushing everything out. Vegetables. All right. Well, enjoy a rainbow. There are lots of vegetables. Listen, our leafy greens are wonderful for calcium and iron, magnesium. When you're getting this magnesium in our leafy greens, it helps calm the nerves. It actually boosts our energy and it improves our heart health. Whole grains? Well, whole grains are hearty. They're flavorful. They're filling. And they help control blood sugar when we're eating a whole grain. A lot of times when people have diabetes, a lot of times it has to do, their blood sugar spikes because they're eating processed foods with no fiber. God made things in their perfect package, didn't he? And I'm going to use this example probably in my health nugget, but I'll use it for you again here. So if you're not here the day of the health nugget, you'll have the information. If you are a diabetic, or if you know a diabetic, is it okay if they eat an apple? Yeah. If you know a diabetic, or if you're a diabetic, is it okay to eat applesauce? It's questionable. It wouldn't be your best choice. If you know a diabetic or you are a diabetic, is it okay to drink a glass of apple juice? Boop, 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 boop. Well, but that's only if you've had a drop that's serious. You got to get them something. That's not the best choice, though. You would give them a glucose tablet, but what? No. I mean, usually, my mother was a type 1 diabetic, so she always had to carry glucose with her. You know what I mean? Because she, unfortunately, was not a compliant type. Ron talked about his mom. My mom ended up on dialysis. Well, my mom wanted, she was, had type 1 diabetes. My mom wanted to eat everything everybody else was eating. If you had a cookie, she wanted a cookie. If you had candy, she wanted candy. She wanted a Coca-Cola. She wanted whatever the world was eating, okay? And unfortunately, it took a toll on her. And she ended up having uncontrolled diabetes, and she was on lots of medication. And my mom was very petite, very thin, but her kidneys failed. and she ended up on dialysis. And just like Ron's story where his mom went on and then ended up, going on dialysis, and then 2 years later had a major heart attack. My mother had a heart attack on the dialysis machine and never recovered. And so sadly, that could have been avoided. Even though she had a genetic issue, it was a real genetic disease, right? The type 1 diabetes. She could have eaten healthy and reduced not only the amount of insulin that she needed, but she could have protected her body with healthy foods. So she could have lived she could have been here today. And she died in 2014. So if she could have been here for another, who knows how many years. So anyway, but understanding that whole grains with these, we want to incorporate whole grains. Fiber-rich bran. It's the nutrient-packed germ. So when we have a whole grain, there's 3 parts to a grain. There is the bran, which is the outside. There is the germ, which is on the grain. And then there's something called the endosperm. The endosperm is the starch. But guess what? In today's society, somebody realized years ago, but for now, this is the way we live. Oh, if we take that bran off, things are a little bit lighter. Oh, if we get rid of that germ, things will be fluffier. What did they leave? They got rid of all the nutrition because it's in the germ. They got rid of all the fiber, which is in the bran, and all they did was leave the starch. Is that how God made the rain? No. That's why incorporating whole grains into our diet is optimum for good health, right? And they're also a great source of magnesium. We talked about that with the nerves and helping with stress, and contain protein, B vitamins. So very important. All right, I said chips, chops, and lollipops, but now you need to beware of bottles, bags, and bars, okay? Fast food is often where the hidden calories are hanging out. Did you know that a 32-ounce soda, which I think that's like a liter-ish, I don't know, 1.5 liters, 32 ounces? Somebody look it up? Okay. I can't speak your language. I'm sorry. I'm a foreigner. I don't speak your language. It is like a liter? Okay. A liter of soda can have up to 24 teaspoons of sugar. Imagine taking a teaspoon and going 1, 2, 3, 24 times in a bowl and just eating it because that's what you just did when you're having your liter of soda. It's a lot. A small bag of potato chips, little bag, can pack over 300 calories. A medium chocolate bar is just loaded with sugar and fat, and caffeine too, and theobromine. This is refined trouble. The #1 source of added sugar in the United States, and I'm sure here in Canada too, is soda. I'm sure that those sugary beverages are probably the #1 source of sugar. Do you know if you just drank 1 12-ounce can of soda, that would be 7 every day. Okay, just one can. You're not over living, right? 1 little can. That would add 75 cups of sugar to your diet in a year. 75 cups. Just eliminating 1 can of soda will get rid of 75 cups of sugar in your diet. Well, let's have a journey to freedom, right? Let's have a healthier life, right? Make a plan or plan to fail, right? If we don't have an idea of what we want to incorporate and how we want to change, even write down maybe plans like, okay, I'm going to eat this for breakfast. I'm going to eat, kind of try to follow that the best you can. You can take a moment to do that. You have to do your food shopping anyway. So plan things that you say, okay, I'm going to make this, I'm going to make that, and then work on it to use it. When you act on your decisions, that's when your change will happen and you will feel better. Eat for strength. Care for yourself. Eat foods that nourish you, right? Your body is God's temple, isn't it? You see, he cares for you. In 1 Peter 5:7, he says he cares for you. The good foods God has provided for you are a daily reminder of his love for you. All right. Drink plenty of water. Now remember, Ron talked about water yesterday. We want to eat high fiber, natural foods at meal times and have our water in between. We don't want to drink with our meals because that it avoids false hunger signals, overeating, and dehydration, when we eat, when we drink our things. You know, we don't want to water down our gastric juices that are going to really digest our food. Move it or lose it. Again, exercise. Remember, just a 10-minute walk. Take one or two of those each day. At least incorporate that. Best after your meal. It aids in digestion. And also for people who Ron did his health nugget on walking, remember, it also, a 10-minute walk will actually stabilize blood sugar because it activates the GLUT4, which is the glucose transporter number 4. So it also improves your mood. Do you feel better when you're out in the nature? Fresh air, right? Do you guys have parks close to you? I mean, you guys are kind of like right outside of the city, but there's some nice parks. Take some time. Or, you know what? I used to walk when I worked. We had like 5 buildings on our campus when I was working full time before I was a missionary. Every break time and every lunch time, I went out and took a walk with people and just walked, took 10 minutes, 15 minutes, boop, boop, came back. I felt so much better to sit back at my desk. Take the time to do it. Stack the Z's. Go to bed on time, right? Even early. Rest time is recovery time for our body. Now, there's a good word to remember in our battle of this plan of being better, right, at our health. It's called HALT. It stands for being overly, you have to avoid being overly hungry, anxious, lonely, and tired. These are the times that we actually, you know, I'll tell you the worst time for me for eating, like grabbing something that I probably shouldn't, is when I'm sitting at my computer, working diligently by myself, lonely, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm tired and I'm anxious to get some work done, and I'm like, oh, give me some popcorn, or give me, you know what I mean, or give me a cup of juice, or what, and I'm like taking in calories. I'm not, if I ate a good meal, I wouldn't have those cravings. So you want to stay away from hungry. We want to be, we want to stay away from the things that are going to cause us that stress, right? Surround yourself with people who support you. High fiber meals at regular times are going to keep you satisfied. It's going to reduce your cravings. It's going to improve your mood. Daily exercise, get out and walk. It will help refresh you and invigorate you. And then, of course, choose to trust God regarding the situations you have no control over. That's part of our stress. Our anxiousness is when we worry about the future. Depression is dwelling upon the past. But anxiousness and anxiety is worrying about the future. But we have to remember that when we have God in our life, with men, it's impossible. But with God, what? All things are what? Possible. That's right. So, Jesus knows how long you've struggled with stress, with maybe some things in your life. But his power plan, right? And promises are yours. But you have to decide. You must give him your will and your choices, right? And he will help you recover and grow and make the better choices. He will help you preserve. You can have a new life with God. Amen? All right. Well, at Philippians 4:13, one of my favorites. I can do a couple things through Christ who gives me strength, right? No? What can I do? All things. Amen. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. God knows how to deliver you from your stressors in your life. He does. And all the things in our daily lives, he has a plan. He will put the desires in your heart, and he will help you preserve and build a new life, a life more abundant, right? And as I like to always close my presentations, which is where we got the name for this health seminar, is may the Lord bless you with health and hope and happiness until his soon coming. Amen? All right. Well, I'm going to go over a few things here before we start our thing. First of all, if you want to take a picture of this, if you know somebody who is struggling with maybe some depression or anxiety or stresses in their life, this is a recipe that I learned when I worked at the Lifestyle Center when we did our depression recovery programs. It's called the Happy Green Shake. Now, we're not going to make it today, But I will tell you that it's delicious, okay? It is so good. And it's got some things that you can easily get here. It starts with some pineapple juice, but Sister Victoria, you use it, okay? She's allergic if you don't know. All right. Some coconut milk. So you can put orange juice in there maybe, or something else in there. You know, a small banana, like a frozen banana, because that makes it even like a little smoothie, right? A little bit of date sugar. Then we're going to use some things that you can get in the supplement store, some spirulina powder, some kelp powder, okay? A little bit of sesame seeds, a little flax seed, and some pumpkin seeds. You put these all in a blender and you blend it up. I'm going to let you know it's delicious. It sounds a little weird. Have you ever had it, Robert? Robert's had it lots of times. So, and look at him, he's stress-free. So there you go. See, it works, right? It's part of his practice. Right? It is so good. Well, it contains 3 essential nutrients that are going to help combat stress and uplift your mood, okay? First of all, folate. Folate regulates the levels of BH4 in the body, and BH4 is a very important cofactor in the formation of the D in dose, the dopamine, and the S in dose, the serotonin, meaning that it must be present in order for those things to be manufactured in your body. Pumpkin seeds in this recipe will give us the folate. Then we have tryptophan. Now tryptophan, when we have more tryptophan, was present in people's diets, so if they had a higher amount of tryptophan, individuals had a better state of mind. If you're going to get tryptophan, the best way to get it, what do you think? Anybody know? Sesame seeds. The sesame seeds, believe it or not. And omega-3s, they emerging in a therapeutic way for our moods and our mental health. The omega-3s are in the flax seeds. So this combination has all these things. If somebody has depression, they would give them probably like a 6 ounces of this drink before their meal, their breakfast meal, okay? And I'm going to let you know, within our 11-day program, most people had overcome a lot of their anxiousness, their depression, their stressors. Part of thing. So I'm going to let you know, if you know somebody who's struggling, this might be something that you could incorporate into their life. They could maybe make this, and maybe they'll see a difference with some of the things that we talked about. Robert, go ahead. 4 ounces. Okay, I said 6, right? Yeah, 4 to 6. Yeah, 4 to 6, depending on how, Now we're not. Yeah, I mean, you don't want them to not eat their food. So you're going to do this at their breakfast. So somebody, you don't want them just to have that. They have to have other good nutrition as well. But I think that we have to understand that we're not talking about clinical depression with a chemical imbalance, but some of the things that people can fall into a deep depression. I don't think Ron is going to share with you, but I can share that, he struggled with some depression with, the youngest daughter, who passed away 2 years ago, was severely disabled. And so it was a very stressful part of his life. And so it could happen to anybody. Satan will use anything to deter us from joy, right? So, all right. So here are our recipes. I'm going to pass these out. If I could ask Robert's coming. No, Robert can go on this side. David, over here. Thank you. So we're going to start with the corn chowder, coconut corn chowder. Now, why are we going to make coconut corn chowder today? Well, the benefits of coconut for mental health. Did you know that coconut offers benefits for stress and anxiety due to the content of the medium-chain triglycerides in it? So antioxidants, it also has minerals like magnesium, which we talked about, promote relaxation and mood regulation. All right. The second recipe we're going to do is the eggless egg salad, all right? Now, the benefit of soy, we're going to be using tofu today. Okay, yeah, leave them back there, it's fine. Isoflavones offer benefits for stress, anxiety, and mental health, potentially improving mood and cognitive function. So we're going to make an eggless egg salad today. We'll have that on a nice multi-grain cracker, okay? And we have the soup. And then we're going to finish ours with a tropical chia pudding. Now, the benefits of chia. Chia seeds are a high concentration of omega-3 fatty acids, like the flaxseed, right? The difference with chia to flax, why I love chia more than flax, is because you see, to get the proper omega-3s, you need to grind flax seeds. But they lose their potency after you grind them. So you need to grind them and use them, okay? Now, if you're using them for high fiber or you're adding them in as like an egg replacer in a baking or something, then of course, it doesn't matter if they're ground ahead, but you're losing the nutritional value. So it's kind of matters, you know? But the thing about these nutrients, the omega-3 fatty acids, are again, play a role in the serotonin and the dopamine, like I mentioned before. They're very critical for our mood health, okay? We need omega-3s. I will tell you, omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. Now, have you heard of omega-6s? Because we need both of those. Have you heard of omega-6s? You don't hear people supplementing omega-6s though, do you? Because omega-6s are actually inflammatory to the body. You're like, oh, well, why do I need it? Well, God has made it where we need a balance of both of them to function properly. But guess what? In North America, we get, with the foods that we eat, the fast foods, the processed foods, the white flours, all these things, we get approximately 16 omega-6s to every one omega-3. So I guess we need to add some omega-3s in our diet, don't we? And so if you were here yesterday, if you knew, Karina, if you were lucky to be in the front of the, if you were lucky to be in the front of the line, yes. You got a delicious dessert, a chia pudding, right? Well, we're going to do a chia pudding today, but she had beautiful ones in little cups. They were lovely. I didn't get one, but I saw them. I saw them. I was jealous, but it's okay. So anyway, so if we need to incorporate omega-3s as much as we can. The beauty about chia, you don't have to grind it. It is fully digestible. But I'm going to tell you a funny story when I get over there. So on that note, these are nice pictures, right? Well, hopefully ours looks as good as that. All right, we're going to shut this down. Is that off? No, it's off. All right, we're going to start. And you're going to see how simple these recipes are. And hopefully they're delicious. Now, I am not in my regular corner of the world. Therefore, I had to supplement sometimes with some of my ingredients, okay? Because I didn't know where to go. You know what I mean? We didn't want to be driving all over the place. So we did what we could. Yep. And the superstore had almost everything we needed, except 2 ingredients. So actually, I'll say 3 ingredients, and you'll see why. All right, I'm going to start our little hot plate here, and get this on function. How to learn how to do this. Up, up, up. All right, I want to let you know that I didn't want you to watch me. Hold on, what did I do? Hello. Oh, okay. Interesting. I think this, I went near it, and I think it went to Fahrenheit, which is fine for me. I didn't know how to work anything else. All right, so I took some, and if you're looking at your coconut corn chowder, I started with some diced potatoes. Now this is only a partial recipe, so you would make double this, okay? But I put some potatoes in here, and I boiled the potatoes with some water with my seasoning. Now you'll see that says 1 tablespoon of chicken-like seasoning. Chicken-like seasoning is really just a bunch of herbs mixed together to almost make like a chicken broth flavor. Now, we're not using chicken broth. Why? Because this is a whole food, or this is a plant-based thing, because remember, we're trying to incorporate as many vegetables, no saturated fats, chicken fat, saturated fat, right? So all these things that we want to kind of take out, we're kind of substituting. But I could not find the chicken-like seasoning. And really, if you go to a health food store, you'd easily be able to find it. Online, easy to find, right? But the superstore, not so easy to find. That's a big store. I looked, but I couldn't find it. So anyway, and I didn't have time to go asking somebody. We kind of wanted to move along with our day. So I did buy a vegetable seasoning. This wouldn't be my first choice. It has a lot of ingredients that, I would probably avoid, because you don't want to incorporate too many like preservatives and things in there, and some enhancers and stuff that I would probably avoid. But we did use it for today because I couldn't find the other one. So that's okay. So it's once in a blue moon, right? So I put the potatoes and the onions, as well as the onion powder and the vegetable seasoning in here. And I brought that to a boil, and and I just soften the potatoes. So now the potatoes are nice and soft. So, oh, I was like, where's my blender? Here it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these potatoes out. Now, they're nice and soft. So, and let me get some of these potatoes out, okay? And we're going to blend these up. See, this is a very creamy soup because it's kind of like a chowder, and a chowder, I don't want this all over the place. We'll put it over there. All right, so a chowder is actually a soup that has potato in it, and that's what makes it a chowder. This is a corn chowder. And so we are going to just add these potatoes and leave some potato in there, okay? Can you smell it? Okay. All right, we're going to add that. And we are going to add coconut milk. Now, you would just use in a full recipe, as you can see, it's written there, 1 can of coconut milk. You can find coconut milk anywhere, and there's a lot, but we poured out only 1/2 of a can here. Okay? And I'm going to just blend this up. I'm going to add a little water. I think this evaporated a little bit. I'm just going to add a little bit of water here. Okay. We don't need that. All right. And we didn't put salt in before because I forgot to get it from the house. But we have it now. So I'm going to put that salt in there and let that. All right. We'll get that stirred up. Well, by the way, when you make soup, especially this soup, you want to make sure when you're cooking things, because it's going to evaporate and then it'll make very thick soup. And then you got to water it down, and then you lose the balance of the flavors. So anyway, I added a little water only because I know it evaporated, but that's okay because we have one ready already. That was perfect. All right, and we're going to start now. Start your blender on low. And the reason why is because you do not want to be the recipient of a shower of blessing, right? Because Ron has actually cleaned off many ceilings, okay? Because I'm like just throwing it on and bloop, there it goes and pops off, right? So you want to make sure it's on tight and you want to start slow. All right, and we're just going to blend this up. And it doesn't take much because it's just softened potato and coconut milk. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm using here, and thank goodness, was this your blender, Mahela? Mahela lent me her blender. It's a Vitamix. I don't know if you know anything about Vitamix. Does anybody have a Vitamix here? I'm going to let you. It is the Cadillac of all blenders, okay? It runs like a Cadillac, but it costs like a Cadillac too. That's the problem. That is the problem. But I'm going to let you know, if you're going to transition to a more whole food, plant-based diet, this is going to be your best friend in the kitchen. It will definitely be your best friend in the kitchen. And it's because it has got a 2.2 horsepower motor in it. Gentlemen, to relate, it's like having a lawnmower in the kitchen, okay? You get it? 2.2 horsepower, okay? See, now you can feel like you're part of this conversation, right? So anyway, I'm just going to add this in. It's a little thick. I must have put too many potatoes in here, but let's get this in here. It's a little thick, but we can always add a little water. Again, I made this, I boiled the potatoes ahead of time, so remember I'm kind of a little thick here. But now, that should be okay. Well, you know what I'll do? I think I'm going to take a little more.
You need more water?
No, I have it right here. Ron gave me some. So I'm just going to do this. Mix it up. And pour it in. Okay. But the key to this recipe, I think, now this is good enough. But of course, it's a corn chowder, so we're going to throw some corn in there. Right? Oh, yeah, now it's fine. I'm going to throw the corn in there. Because now that we've blended it, we didn't want to blend the corn. So now I'm putting the corn in. Now, I'm going to say I'm using frozen corn. Corn, you want to try to eat, when you buy corn, you want to buy organic when you can. And the reason why is corn is like 85% genetically modified. And so I don't have time, obviously, to share with you about genetic modification and things of that nature. But we really want to avoid genetically modified foods. And there's a lot of scary reasons why, I can assure you. All right, we mix this up. This is a little nice. And then I'm going to add, I think, the secret ingredient, dill. This just makes it, just kicks it up a notch, right? So we're going to add some dill in there.
Is it dry, right?
This is dried dill. You could use fresh, but you're going to have to use a lot more, to get that. But the dried dill will give it, yeah, it's just dill weed. You can buy in the seasonings. And we have beautiful soup here. Let me show you. What do you think? Yum. And how easy was that? Right? Easy breezy. Right? There we go. There we go. Folks can see. All the way over here, over here, over here. I'm going all the way to the back. There we go. Look at how delicious. And, well, I'm not leaving it here because I know you might eat it. So we're going to put it over here in case anybody else wants it. All right.
Is that the same one Miss Mary does for the guests?
Well, Miss Mary does it because I'm the one who put it in. It is the same one.
It's the same, okay.
It's the same one. Yeah. So we do cook this at the Lifestyle Center as well. When I set up the menu for. Yeah, could I have one, please? Thank you. Because I have a mess here and my hands are a little gooey. But see how people are always on the spot there. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm the one who I'm the one who set up the menu for the cooking class years ago. And so they use the recipes that I put in there because what I do is I try to take things that people can relate to and transition to. Because you could eat this here and say, oh, this is delicious. But you could go home and your family would be like, I don't want you to make that. You've got to find things that are going to resonate, right? And so I want to let you know this soup will resonate. If you like soup, you'll love this soup. Right, Robert?
It resonates with me.
Robert loves the soup. All right. Any questions or anything? No. All right. Let's move on to our next recipe. This one, easy breezy. Now, because we couldn't bring our cooking equipment and stuff, I kind of tried to pick really simple recipes that we could do because I think that my philosophy is simple, nutritious, and delicious. Foods have to be as grown and simply prepared as much as possible. They need to be nutritious, right? Because that's the most important part. But they need to be delicious, right? So I tried to pick things that we could kind of relate to. All right, our second.
That again one more time.
Simple, nutritious, and delicious. And if you have my cookbook, Robert, you can look on the front of it, and it says simple, nutritious, and delicious. It's on, oh yeah, that's right. So I actually am an author to cookbook, and by the way, while I've been here, during the day, I've been working on my second cookbook. So it's been in editing mode right now. So I've been back and forth. Yes?
Did you bring the first one with you?
I did not. I did not because, do you want to know why? Ron said you should bring cookbooks. But this is the problem. The first thing is that we sent a bunch when I first came out, and so a lot of people had them already, right? And so I felt like, oh, I don't want to bring them in, and like, oh, I'm selling a cookbook, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to sell, I felt like kind of, so anyway, I should have though. You can get it, you can get it on Amazon, but not in Canada.
So I think if they're interested.
If you're interested in getting my cookbook, yes, you could. Yeah, you could work it out because I think that you can get it sent to a U.S. address. That's over the border, and then you'll be able to. Then it's easy and the shipping. We shipped them, and it was very expensive to get them to Canada. Really, literally, like an hour over the border, right? Or not even Richmond is, right? And it was very expensive. So
the ones I sent my sister Renee one. I think I could have maybe sent you. I sent my sister one and some other people, and yeah, it was like
outrageously,
double the cost.
outrageously, yeah, it was like double the cost of the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't double the cost of the shipping. It was double the
Yes.
cost of the book. Very expensive. So it's you know how the U.S. and they're like arguing siblings here. Right? U.S. and Canada. That's it. We're going to charge you a lot in the shipping. Well, that's okay. We'll tariff you. Listen. It's a lot. I don't know. Thank goodness I'm not a part of that thing. I don't pay attention.
Sorry, I just feel like we need to add one more ingredient.
What would you
For
like?
This one, Ron. You need a Ron in the kitchen for things to go so smooth.
All right. Let me just tell you something. She is 100% right. I could never do this without Ron. I'm going to say Ron is really the backbone of this. I'm up here doing this, and I'm talking and all this. Ron is in the kitchen prepping. He cut the potatoes. He cut the onions. He is the one that is really, and he does all the cleanup, and he puts all the samples together. So you really got to love Ron more than you love me. Right? Honestly, right? And there he is. Did you hear us talking about you? No. You didn't? Well, she said we have to add something to the ingredients. You have to have a Ron in the kitchen, or this doesn't work out as well. Anyway, all right, we're going to do this easy recipe. This is just a half block of tofu, actually, because I already made some. But we're going to do an eggless egg salad. Now, the reason why I'm doing this one is because, remember, we talked about the soy, right? Now, had anybody ever hear that soy is not good for you? Raise your hand, right? Right? People say that, right? I'm going to let you know. First of all, I will let you know that I work with medical professionals all the time. Doctors, physicians, PAs, nurse practitioners, dietitians, registered dietitians, nutritionists. And I'm going to let you know at the Lifestyle Center, there is not one person there that will tell you that soy is not good for you. But there is a caveat to this: organic soy. And the reason why, soybeans are 92% genetically modified. And they use lots of chemicals to clean the soybeans off those plants to process them. Or if you buy organic soy, let me tell you, people say, well, and the reason why people say it, they say, oh, there's something called phytoestrogen in that, and you can't have that. Well, first of all, what's the word phyto mean? Plant. Plant. Estrogen is the chemical, right? The hormone. It's plant hormone. Do you know every other vegetable in the world that you eat has phytoestrogen in it? It's not just soy. That means that you'd have to take away every vegetable in your life not to get phytoestrogen. So now, but I'm going to tell you that the phytoestrogen in soy products is preventative of reproductive cancers especially. Also lung cancer too, by the way. Very preventative. So incorporating soy in your diet. Well, I remember one time I was at a cooking school and somebody said to me, I'm not giving my 12-year-old son, soy products. Now, do you think God has a good sense of humor? I do. So I don't know why I say this, but I say to her, do you know any Chinese people? And she said, yes. I said, did you ever see a Chinese man? And she said, yes. I said, did he have breasts? She said, no. I said, well, they've been eating soy products for 2,000 years, okay? So I want to let you know that it's very healthy, but it's very important to get organic soy, okay? So easy breezy, I have organic tofu. I crumbled it up, okay? I'm going to take, now I don't have that chicken style seasoning, but I'm going to use the vegetable seasoning, which did work. But I'm going to tell you now, look, I had a couple funny things happen to me in the store, okay? So I mix this up, get that seasoning in. And I'm going to add a little bit of turmeric. Now, let me tell you what happened to me. I went to the superstore, and I'm in the seasoning aisle and the spices, and I'm looking, I can't find turmeric. I can't find it. But all of a sudden, I see one on the bottom of the thing, like a row of them. I'm like, oh, good, thank you. I grab it, and I throw it in. Read the labels. This is pureed turmeric. It is not turmeric powder. So it's actually, I had to add extra to get the color that I was looking for. And it's hard to, I was trying to balance it. But anyway, it smells really nice. If you like a little bit of zip, it gives you a little spicy to it. This will give us a little spicy to our thing. So here we go. We're going to use our pureed turmeric. And you throw me because everything is half in French and half in English. So if I'm not reading, if I'm thinking I read the label, I might not have read the whole label, So anyway, that's my first store. My first thing, my second thing because of the seasoning, right? So that's my second thing. But this is, if you go to the superstore, this is what the pureed looks like,
Stay
okay?
away from that.
Yes. Actually, though, you could probably use it in soups and stuff if you were going to put it in. It would probably be really nice. Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. What did I say about disease in the beginning? Disease is inflammation in your body. So this is going to help reduce inflammation. All right? So we're going to add that turmeric, and that's going to actually give us some color, I'm trying to make this similar to like an egg salad, right? I'm going to add, what's my next ingredient? I want to do this in order for you. Onion. I have some chopped onion. Thank you, Ron, for chopping my onion. All right. And we have some celery. Ron, thank you, Ron, for chopping the celery. All right. He has to listen to me. I'm like, finally chop it, smaller. He has to listen to me, but he does a great job. Trust me. He follows directions well. All right. So got this moving on there. Remember our tofu? Our tofu is now a little bit more like yellowish. It was like a little plain before. Then I'm going to add the secret ingredient. This one you can find online. You cannot find this in the superstore.
I was going to say, for those who never used turmeric, if you go in the aisle where the garlic and ginger is, you can find fresh turmeric.
Sure, but then that would be wet like this one.
Yes.
I was looking for turmeric powder.
Yeah.
That's what I was used to. All right, so this is the secret ingredient. Now this recipe is supposed to be like an egg salad, But do you think tofu tastes like an egg? Not necessarily, right? However, this seasoning you can get online or you can get it in any Indian, like East Indian grocery, East Indian grocery store, okay? In fact, when we went to that one, they had 4 different kinds of the same seasoning from different labels, okay? This is called black salt powder or kalanomic. Oh, it doesn't say it on there, but it's called kalanomic. I might have put it on there.
Yeah.
I did, okay. Kalanomic is the real name of it. It is actually a salt that's very sulfuric. It's full of minerals, but it gives like a bit of an egg flavor. So if you use this in this tofu, you're kind of imagining that it's like an egg salad, okay? So, and if you don't have it, you can use salt, and it'll still be good because you're putting other seasonings in here. But I like it to taste like an egg because if you're making an eggless egg salad, you might as well let it taste like the egg, right? And then we're just going to use some prepared mayo already. But if you are, at home, you can actually make your own mayo. I have 3 mayo recipes in my last cookbook, right? So, here, I'm going to bring, I hate to come around again, but I want you to get a smell. Do you smell the egg? It smells like egg, right? Maybe here, over here a little bit. Can you smell a little egg? All right? It's kind of crazy, right? Making the tofu look like an egg. Right? Can you guys smell it? If you don't like eggs, sorry. If you don't like eggs, tell me that. Right? Can you get that smell? Yeah?
After you pass that,
You smell it more?
yeah.
You smell. What? I did not make the tofu. No, not at all. I used it right out of the package. I rinsed it and drained it. Now I would tell you to use firm or extra firm. However, I use firm or extra firm. I would suggest though the organic firm tofu in the package in the superstore actually was very, very watery. So it came out very watery. The other one, this one's going to come out a little firmer because it was a different type of tofu. So extra firm, I would suggest. I'm just going to add mayo to your tasting. I like extra firm. But usually at home I use firmor and it works. But this was just very water packed, and I drained it as much as I could, but it still made it watery.
So with the other one I had, and you used that.
I used that one was better.
Was that better?
Yours was better than the extra one I bought.
So that's because organic.
Yeah. So, yeah, this one's more like an egg salad. The other one was a little watery. I told Ron to mix this in with the other. So you can see, looks like an egg salad, right? And we're going to serve that on some crackers. All right. Last but not least, the easiest thing. Now, for some of you, when you go to church, sometimes you say, oh no, it's tomorrow is fellowship luncheon. Can you tell them to mix that with the other one? Thank you. So anyway, oh no, fellowship luncheon's tomorrow. You just got home from work and you only have like a half hour. This is the recipe you want to make, except Victoria, who's allergic to pineapple. All right. So
She can put mango.
she can put anything she wants in it. That's right. But this particular one has a lot of pineapple in it. But it's so easy. I keep these ingredients in my house all the time. Why? Because there's always I'm going to end up going somewhere and I need to bring something last minute. All right. So we're going to start with canned pineapple. Now you can use a fresh pineapple. It will not be as sweet and it won't be as juicy, but you can cut up fresh pineapple if you have it and put it in the food processor. For this recipe, I use the canned because it's easy. I don't always have a pineapple sitting in my house, right? And I've got to do something. And this is pineapple in natural juice, okay? So it's fresh pineapple crushed. So I use crushed pineapple. This was the hardest thing to find in the whole superstore, right, Darcy? It was on the candy aisle.
Oh.
Yeah, candy and cookies and pineapple, okay? All right. So pineapple and the canned fruit. It just didn't make sense. I don't know. I thought like maybe with canned vegetables or no. We looked all over. All right. So I'm using a little more than this can, but you could just use this much can. But I had some extra, so I'm going to put it in. All right. We are then going to add. So we've got our pineapple. We're going to add chia seeds. Okay. Here's my third funny story. Hello. Okay. So I couldn't find the seasoning, but we substituted. Right. Then I bought the wrong turmeric. Right. So Sister Mihaela had chia seeds at her house, but I didn't find them, okay? I didn't look in the right drawer is what it was. So she said, oh, I have pretty much everything, you know, so I'm like, okay, good. And then I was like, okay, so I bought a small one. It was only a couple dollars, right? However, read your labels. This is ground chia. But the good news, it works just the same. So we'll put it in. Okay. So yeah, it works exactly.